Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Nodarse, and I appreciate you guys having me here today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story and how I got to be where I am today. So I have about 18 years of experience in the industry, having started my journey at the age of 19 in 2005. My passion for denim really began when I started reconstructing old jeans that I bought from a local thrift store, which led me to develop a deep appreciation for the craftsmanship and attention to detail that goes into making premium denim. I spent the next, several years visiting factories in Los Angeles to learn about the unique production processes that, set apart the premium LA made jeans from the rest of the world. This was the early 2000s where LA made jeans were kind of the dominant premium goods in the market. And so I was very intrigued and very curious. And so I quickly realized that the key to creating high quality denim is in the small details. And I adopted Dieter Ram's design philosophy of less is more to focus on the essential elements of my design, which was fabric, fit, and wash. Let me remind you, the early 2000s or the Y2K style, what everyone calls it now, is, the eccentric, over embellished type of, how do you say, design aesthetic that was there. So to me, less is more was something that was completely radically different at that time period. And so this approach is really what allowed me to create an innovative and a sustainable denim product and really disrupt what the common specific uh, delegation of what denim should be. And this is where, if someone's telling you what sustainability is, then you need to question it, because really what sustainability is defining problems and coming up with solutions for them. And this unique experience of starting here, learning about everything in the beginning, is what kind of gave me that capability to look outside the box and think more innovatively. My first real big break was when I started working for Revolve, and I created a brand for them called Girlfriend Denim. We wanted to make something that was different. This was 2014, 2013, 2014, I think somewhere around there. It was when jeggings were a big thing. So everything was becoming super stretchy. That was the innovation in the industry. Everybody wanted these high stretch denims that they'd never seen before. And I thought that didn't feel like jeans. The more and more the innovation was happening, the less and less jeans were becoming. And so I wanted to create real unique, authentic jeans, kind of like vintage jeans. Like what I saw was, a lot of women were wearing these craft Levi's sort of vintage men's jeans. And I thought that was cool. But I didn't quite like how they fit. So I said, can we use the same fabric? Can we get similar wash aesthetics, but can we have it fit better? And that's where Girlfriend really came out of, was that concept. My next job was to Reformation, because I was very curious about sustainability. Growing up in California, I like to hike. I was outside. I've been surfing since the age of 8. So I was always in nature. Nature felt very, close to me. And denim, the more and more I learned about it, the more I realized it used a lot of heavy chemicals. Cotton, the more I learned about cotton, it was water intensive and used a heavy amount of pesticides, insecticides, and herbicides. So I wanted to find out what it was. At that time, I thought I was going to go in there and they're going to tell me what it was, but unfortunately, that was not the case in scenario. They had this rule; they didn't want to use cotton, and this is where I really learned about the intensity. Was that started reading into life cycle assessment reports that were kind of showing me all the extensive results of growing cotton in different parts of the world. And so I started looking into cellulosic fibers, such as tencel, and we started learning how to blend unique and more sustainable fibers like tencel into jeans in a higher content. In the beginning, the Reformation's actual slogan was like, being naked is actually the number one most sustainable, and Reformation is number two. And I thought, all right, well, if we can't use cotton to make jeans, then technically we're just going to be naked, and that's the most sustainable. I was like, what are we going to make jeans out of if we don't use cotton? And so this really pushed our boundaries, because it gave me this challenge to say, hey, how do we make jeans more sustainable without using cotton? So making it you can't really make it out of 100% tencel. It didn't really feel like jeans to me. So I started looking into recycled cotton. However, recycled cotton didn't look good. It's trash cotton. It wasn't strong enough. It was dirty. There was so many problems with it. And what I wanted to do was take my sort of original aesthetics of less is more and apply that here. And so I thought, well, how do I create a more sustainable jean using recycled cotton? Well, blend it with the tencel. The unique thing about tencel is it's actually stronger than traditional conventional cotton, and recycled cotton is less strong. So if you actually blend them together, you get an appropriate similar strength. And then you apply that to then using it in the warp versus just in the weft. This also gives you three yarns that could work in tandem together to hold the strength versus just traditionally people put recycled cotton or tencel only in the weft. And so you start looking at things differently and start applying a little bit of common sense and some logic, maybe some mathematics, and you can get to a place where you can be challenging and disrupting the industry. And with this, we were able to really create beautiful jeans that were looking extremely vintage. It went along with the aesthetic of the brand. Reformation started off as a brand that was repurposing vintage, which once again went back to my roots of how I got started. So it made sense to me. This is really where I enjoyed working the most. It was a company that was growing a lot. I helped them also revitalize their knit program. Previously, they were using tencel jerseys to make t-shirts and sweatshirts, and they would fall apart when you washed them. This is also a unique thing about sustainability is it can't just be made of sustainable fibers. You also need to use a method that makes it last longer. And so I was able to then craft a new material for them to use that withstood better home laundry. And then from there, I also helped them restructure their factory. We had a factory in Los Angeles, our own factory, that was literally right behind my office of about 200 workers. And so this gave us the capability to actually keep up with companies like Zara, who everyone called fast fashion. It's not about creating too much or too little of quality as fast as you can. The thing about Reformation is we can design something and have it on our web store ready to ship in 3 weeks. This gave us the capability to move within the market to see what people wanted. So we weren't creating a lot of waste. We weren't creating products that we wouldn't be able to sell because we tried to design them 2 years ago. This also gave us the mentality to think more efficiently. It means that we had to think about fabrics and prints and stocking things and how do we move quickly? How do we be more efficient? How do we not be wasteful? This is both profitable and it's also very sustainable in the perspective that you're using less to create more. So once again, my favorite design philosophy, less is more, always kind of kept coming into my career and still to this day is a very important philosophy that I still guide all my career on. At the end of Reformation, I still wanted to be disruptive. I still wanted to innovate. I was very focused on wanting to do as much as I can, but I felt like I needed to kind of do my own thing. So I started my own brand. It was called Boyish. And this was really where I got to do a little bit more education behind it. It was a brand that's marketing and its aesthetic was really built to be more inclusive and include people in learning about this and understanding it more. We were very lucky that a lot of people loved what we were doing. You can see here that we were included in a lot of different publications that would talk about our story. Everything from Forbes to Vogue to Who What Wear. This was really what set Boyish apart from the rest of the industry, was we really had this deep commitment to leave as little impact on the earth as possible. But not just not leaving an impact on earth, but also leaving an impact with people. We wanted to give a good impact to people and reduce our bad impact with the earth. And this is where we created certain specific programs and crafted guidelines for fibers and really pushed the boundary for what other brands are doing. We, would work with 1% for the planet. We created a zero waste program to use all of our recycled waste, and we focused on being carbon neutral. We would utilize fabrics such as rigid fabrics that do not have stretch fibers. This gave us the capability to both mechanically and also cellulosically recycle our materials. We worked with, green chemistry, natural indigo dyes, and if we did include elasticity, we would either use natural rubber, or we would use only 1 or 2% elastane, which would allow it to still be cellulosically recycled. And then we kind of applied the same principles of what we were doing with denim. And then we kind of started to create a knit program where we were designing our own yarns to create beautiful crafted knitwear. And here you'll see we had this whole program called Cool to Care, where we really wanted to be more inclusive with our community. So we would actually, a lot of the influencers and editors and celebrities that we would work with, we'd actually invite them to these events, and we would all get together, including our team at the company, from our design team, our marketing team, anybody that worked for the company would be included as sort of a team bonding experience. And this really gave us the chance to bond as a company, bond with the people that are connected with us for influence, and give back to the community and bond closer to the community. We did this not just with shelters or women's events, but we did it with planting trees, beach cleanups, taking care of wetlands, a whole slew of different events that we would work with in collaboration with different organizations. And after leaving the company, I decided to focus on consulting again, and I ended up working for a fabric company where I built a lot of our denim fabrics, which was called BOSA. They're based out of Turkey. This is the company that really helped me in regards of thinking out of the box. I wanted to push innovation. I wanted to recycle more cotton. I wanted to do things differently, where a lot of the other mills were telling me, no, they can't do that, or they would say, yes, they can do that, and then wait 6 to 8 weeks for the development to come back for it to be completely not what I asked for. And the response would be, oh, well, we couldn't do that. And that was just disappointing. A lot of innovation is going to require a lot of enthusiasm and positivity, because there is, with any trial and error experience, there is a lot of failure. It's like Winston Churchill said, success is really the capability to move from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. And that is especially true when it comes to sustainability, or just in general in a career. So just keep learning as much as you can. And, I always tell people, learn from other people's mistakes if possible. But bringing you to my next point, the thing about consulting that I enjoyed the most was this gave me the capability to then expand my passion of sustainability, but also my passion of being able to work with my hands. I'm an extremely huge fan of gardening. It's something that's a stress relief for me, but also I love it because I love to put my hard work into something and then actually see something, a benefit come out of it by growing beautiful and great tasting vegetables and fruit. It's like the literal saying, the fruits of your labor. And so this connected me a little bit more with cotton, which I started realizing a lot of people talking about regenerative cotton. So I said, all right, I've been following the regenerative, the permaculture, the biodynamic types of farming for a little while, and I understood soil health to a certain extent. I'm not saying I'm a specialist, but I can go somewhat technical into it. And so I said to BOSA, can we look into this more in depth? Because from my initial analysis of the regenerative cotton that's being sold on the market doesn't actually appear to be regenerative. And the only standard that there was for certification was extremely lacking of specifics and ultimately accountability. And I started my own project with BOSA. We looked at the options of cotton. There's conventional, there's organic, there's regenerative agriculture, and then there's regenerative organic agriculture. And so the differences here is obviously conventional is just use what pretty much anything. Organic is you just have to use GOTS certification, which requires you to use only specific chemicals. but doesn't delegate anything about soil health or anything about the specifics of interacting with the ecosystem. Regenerative agriculture by itself, it can be extremely efficient, but the guidelines still are very loose, let's say. A lot of these specific Regen Agri certified farms are still able to use herbicides. They're still able to use a lot of the conventional farming methods and even use till to a minimal extent, as long as they're reducing it from what the conventional was. So to me, it's not enough. Regenerative organic, which is the ROC certification, it's a little intense when it comes to being able to then you have to get your organic certification and then move into regenerative, which is great. It's a longer path. It is the best out of all the certifications, and it is the most difficult. So what I did here was working with BOSA, we created our own little project. It was about 11 hectares to kind of split it up into 3 different parts to kind of look at what does a conventional versus a just Regen Agri certified regenerative cotton field / also the third spectrum, which people called the romantic farming method, the ROC, the regenerative organic, the trying to utilize all these methods. They say it's more for love than it is for profit. But we did this whole project here to kind of minimize the soil disturbance, to keep plants in the ground year round, diversifying and rotating crops, utilizing precision applications of inputs, integrating livestock or integrating a sort of a compost or a manure for biological inoculants. We're measuring the associated water footprint, and we're ensuring that price premiums that support farmer livelihood. So we actually talked to them about agreeing to prices before so that if there is yield losses, they're trying something new that will support them on that. And then also conducting social responsibility audits, as well as just recording our measurable data, in regards to yields and nutrient retention. And so here you can see some of the initial plantings of this project. Where previous crop was wheat, then we left it no tilling, and here it was really important is inoculating and bringing back. This is the first year, so it's going to take a big transition for us, but the important part is really to showcase and bring an interest to these farmers, to show them about it and partner with them. This is something a lot of people don't think about is, when you partner with mills, you're actually not really partnering with farmers, you're partnering with cotton traders. And the cotton traders usually control the farmers. Sounds a little bit like an old colonial plantation system. Yes, it is. And so here, what we really wanted to focus on is work directly with farmers and create this beautiful program. So we built a cotton program the year before where we used these heirloom cotton seeds that were brown cotton. And we worked with the same farmer where the year before we were able to do brown cotton as a sort of natural cotton test. And then this next year we did this regenerative agricultural test with them that's actually going to keep extending next year. We're going to kind of expand it to maybe 80 or 100 hectares because we really enjoyed the results. I talk a lot about this whole regenerative, and I'm going to give you a little bit of some specifics to it. I know I'm talking more about my career, but something that as my career developed, I got very focused on what is the best thing that I can contribute to this industry. Making more jeans to me was actually not really that beneficial. And so I felt conflicted, and I was at this crossroad of my industry and working in it for 16 years. I thought, what else do I want to do? And so this is where the regenerative movement is something that I got very excited about and thought, all right, maybe this is something I can contribute a little bit more to, because to me, I saw the world in this specific sort of instant gratification, social media, news, misinformation, all these things happening. And I thought, we need to connect more to Earth. So the best way to do that is to, talk about how do we create beautiful products while connecting to Earth. And so here, a lot of the problem is this chemical approach, and that we've been spraying so much of it since the 70s. And if you want to think about it, think about eating a bunch of junk food, sugar, processed foods. You're going to feel sick. And this is what's happening to the soil. The soil is sick. You can see it. The food has less nutrients. And cotton even though it only covers 2.4% of the world's farmland, it's using double that yield. It's using 4.7% of the world's pesticides and 10% of the insecticide, which is insane. You know, this sort of fast fix symptom is really what it is. It's like you call somebody that tells you that they have something, they're giving you whatever it is. It's the same thing with medicine from pharmaceutical companies. You use one medicine and then now you have a symptom and you have to get another medicine. This is what's happening with agriculture, where we need to be thinking more about root cause and preventative treatments. And so this is what's the result of quick fixes, is that, you know, even the chemicals that we're using, it's really not effective. And most of it ends up damaging our ecosystem and ending up in our water. And that's really what it is. It's the true efficiency of farming lies in working with nature rather than against it. This is why we all need to connect to nature more, because the earth soil it's the earth's gut. And just like we have food pyramids of what we're supposed to be, processing, it's like the soil has a pyramid of health to complete its photosynthesis, protein synthesis, lipid synthesis, and then all the micronutrients. You know, there is a food web here for all these specific microorganisms to break down the matter and transfer nutrients from the soil. It's a beautiful life in which we need to recognize more. And we do that by doing these tests: sap analysis, PLFA, soil analysis. This tells us, just like going to the doctor to do blood tests, tells us what the plants, what the microorganisms are like, and how we need to increase it. One of the microorganisms that's extremely important is mycelium and mycorrhizae. You know, this is what gives those root structures. It's a mycelium that lives on the root structures and helps build root health, which is extremely important. And so this helps carbon drawdown. This helps resist the colonization, create sustainable systems, and especially human health. You know, and in the end, you end up with cotton that is better fiber strength. It has better color and uniformity and purity, and it'll be of a higher quality. So thank you so much. I appreciate you guys listening to that last little bit of me talking about the regenerative agriculture for cotton, and also appreciate you listening to my story. And thank you for having me here today. I'll see you guys all later. Thank you so much.
First of all, thank you so much for your time, for your consideration to be a part of TRIPPIN'BLUE, for your generosity to share with us so deeply about not all about the brands, about you build them, but really about your worrying about something in your industry. I think that this is a kind of disruptive mentality of designer. We don't have to just make things. We have to solve what you are doing, right? So thank you so much. Bueno, tengo preguntas acá en el chat y voy a hacer para Jordan. Diego tiene un montón de preguntas, así que voy a hacer una u otra de Diego. Y quien quiera puede explicar, puede hablar también en español y les hago, ¿ok? So I have 3 questions from Diego that's very interesting about some topics. I'm going to give to you one of those questions because I think that's a very nice point. Like he's asking if you think that the big brands like Levi's, Nautica, Inditex, or could change the way that they manufacture garments. It's too challenging to achieve, or you think that's very possible in the large scale?
A younger me would have said it's definitely possible. The older me that's becoming, let's just say, more wise and understanding of the way the world works. You know, the world essentially is a game. And, you know, we all know it's easier to start over and continue a new strategy than it is to adjust strategy along the way. And so one of the things I find that's difficult for these big companies is that the machine is moving, and it's not moving slow. It's moving very fast. These big ships, there's so many parts that are moving in it that it becomes difficult for them to be able to achieve a strategy that is successful immediately. And so therefore, what ends up happening is strategy itself fades out as it takes longer and longer to implement. So for instance, after COVID, everything was very much focused on sustainability. What can we do? Consumers started veering off because this is too much. Like I care about other things, you know?
Mhm.
And so as their interests change, then the company starts to adjust and change because they're like, well, if we don't have to do that now, well,
Mhm.
let's focus our money other places.
Yeah.
And this is really accountability. So is it possible? Yes, it is possible with passionate senior management, with passionate owners, with a passionate board of directors. That's like a unicorn, though. It's like saying that there's a board of directors of unicorns. Doesn't
Yeah.
really, it's tough. A board of directors are people that focus on the company's values, which is profit.
Ujú, ujú. Él contesta que Diego sí es posible, probablemente Diego entendió porque escribió en inglés, pero contesto a todos. Sí es posible, pero es posible cuando toda la estructura está preparada para eso. Nosotros no podemos remar solos, no es un tema de hacerlo por hacerlo, mirando solo la estrategia o solamente pensando en cómo vamos a vender más. El consumidor todavía no está encaminado a entender cuáles son realmente los riesgos, lo que estamos generando, las poluciones, pero sí tenemos que estar preparados para ese cambio. Ahora, and I think when you were talking about, I think that this is the way we have to be prepared, because now the user, they have too much to care and they want to have all topics inside, but we have to believe in one and go ahead for this one. And I think that this is a kind of strategy that become from inside to outside. We cannot wait for outside changing because we
Mhm.
have to be the change, right?
That is true. I mean, I always look at it like life. When you look at so I've been studying recently something called Cleodynamics, which essentially is the history of economics. And so it's interesting to look at how economics, they ebb in and flow out based on how many elites that we have in our economy. And so if you look at history, it's like it overproduces elites, and then something will happen to correct that, and then it comes down, and then
Mhm.
it comes under. And what's in the middle is essentially equilibrium.
Yeah.
And so, right, this is what we're doing with sustainability. It's you have to think of it. That's why I use the word profitability is something that businesses are focused on. And sustainability is a focus, but they're at different spectrums. And so they're ebbing and tearing. They're trying to get close to what that equilibrium is.
And I think that we cannot understand sustainability as the end of point because it's a path.
Mhm.
We don't have the end. We just have to keep going and changing. And if we understand that, I think that we have more strength to keep it changing and keep improving. And the results come after that because the
Yeah,
consequence.
it's true.
Perfect.
It-
Bueno, sorry. Acá estábamos hablando sobre cómo es un equilibrio, es un balance encontrar dónde la marca está y dónde la marca quiere ir y que la sustentabilidad está en el medio de todo esto. Y me parece como súper honesto y súper tangible, porque cuando uno piensa en sustentabilidad como una tendencia, como algo que tengo que hacer porque sí, porque están todos hablando sobre eso, no funciona. Funciona cuando es honesto, como lo que dice Diego. I can keep here asking you many things, but I'm going to ask the last one because we have the less speakers to come the next one. And I have, as a fellow designer, I am a designer as well. I used to work in Brazil with Osclen, and I love the menswear field. And there's the opposite for you because you are always in the women's wear field. So, what makes you like comfortable and consistently to make this woman scenario, woman word? And if you have any upcoming project to share with us in the near future.
well, I started off making jeans for myself. I mean, we all kind of essentially in design, we kind of essentially make clothes for ourselves. And we're just like, hey, this is kind of fun. Your friends compliment you a little bit. You make some for them. They really like it. So you're like, I kind of like that feeling. Like I like making people, I'm more of a gift giver. So with women, I noticed women really like good jeans. I started off as a pattern maker, so I really learned how to fit jeans and understood the fabric and the crafting and how things came together. And I'm very visual with my perspective of crafting the pattern and seeing how it fits, asking questions. Even though I have probably several ex-girlfriends that say I'm an awful listener, I listen very well when I'm in a fitting about how it fits. I have girls test it. So it was just a process that I became very good at it. If men bought as many jeans as women, I would probably have been a men's designer. But unfortunately, men don't shop as much as women, and men don't really appreciate good design as well as they appreciate a good price. I'm not saying not every man, I'm speaking in generalized terms,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
stereotypes here, but you get it.
No, perfect. Pregunté a él por qué él está metido en el mundo de las mujeres, porque yo soy diseñadora también. En mis primeros años de carrera profesional siempre estuve en el mundo de los hombres. Él dijo que hacía pantalones para él y que empezaba a probar, los amigos le gustaban, después empezó a escuchar el consumidor, escuchar la mujer y entender dónde se estaba. Eso es algo que todo diseñador debería tener, como buen oído, buena escucha. And for finishing, what's the next project that you have in mind?
Right now, heavily focused on farming. Currently trying to figure out the best way to explain a very technical way of biologically farming. How do we explain biology? What's weird is I hated biology. I hated biology in high school. Oh, it was awful. I did so bad at it. And somehow now here I am, I'm like reading biology books. I'm like, what happened to me? Where was the shift and what happened to me? But I've learned that it's like, it's complicated. It takes a long time to find interests that you dip your toes in little bit by little bit. So now my goal is, how do I learn how to dive deeper into understanding biology to explain it to farmers in different cultures, different languages, but also to the consumer so that they understand what is regenerative farming? Why is it different than organic? Why is organic not enough? Because really organic and regenerative should be somewhat the same thing. However, certifications have come to butcher the goodness by ultimately creating a mafia of certifications. And the focus is ultimately pay and get protection, so that you can sell your product for a little bit more, or do things right and actually spend a lot less money, but understand that it's a lot more difficult to get your product to market. And so that's my goal, is how do I eliminate that process? How do I find the people that are doing it right? How do we tell their story? How do we connect brands to the farmers? Empower the supply chain is really what it is. Empowering the supply chain is one of my next project, if I had to give it a name.
Perfect. Oh, thank you so much. Pregunté a él cuál era el próximo proyecto y él está enfocado en biología y en entender un poco la parte más agricultora de la biología, entender las certificaciones, que para nosotros ahora es como un proyecto de mafia porque pagas tenés, entonces estás protegido y puedes vender. Es entender cómo ser honesto y transparente con tu negocio. Entonces él quiere conectar manufactureros, los lavaderos, los agricultores, toda la cadena para que eso sea lo más transparente posible. Jordan, I don't have words to thank you so much for your participation and for your generosity. I just want to wish you keep curious and keep sharing with us every project that you have, because it's really inspirational for us. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for putting things like this together. This is an amazing experience for everybody to be be inspired and see different innovations that's happening and connect. I mean, we're civilized people by sharing information, so I love to see this. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye bye. Have a nice day.
Take care.